I forgot my sleeping bag. Oh no. What will I do at the hotel?
In this episode, we talked to Ariel Marlowe, who is the community director at Cycleast and planned a whole lot of bike camping events that go through the fall. We started by asking him about the most recent bike camping event they did, which was to Bastrop State Park. He accidentally says McKinney Falls, but we all know what he's talking about, and then we just launch into more conversation about bikepacking. It's a great episode if you love bikepacking or if you're curious about it and wonder why people love it so much. I hope you enjoyed this one.
The thing is, I've done a lot of learning in the past 6 months. When I got hired and Russell talked about wanting to do it, I was really excited because bikepacking has been a big goal of mine. That's really pushed me to do a lot of the cycling I've done to this point, because I wanted ultimately to be able to bike pack. But I've had a good learning curve to get through the first couple of months here when I was told, asked, whatever, given the call to go ahead and reinvigorate the bike camping program that Cycleast had previously had. We led our first ride this last weekend to McKinney Falls in a collaboration with Austin Gravel Collective and San Antonio Gravel Collective. That was a really great experience to kind of work with them and collaborate on how to make this trip happen. And to be able to get it, I mean, even with weather uncertainty, and trying to get, 2 different cities to come together and meet one place and ride. We ended up leaving with 14 people on it Saturday morning, and weather was totally fine.
Perfect.
We get to set up camp. Plan goes, we decide we're not going to do dinner. We're not going to cook a dinner. We just go to the bar outside of the state park grounds. And then we hung out. Some of us went on a night ride. Others just hung out at camp. I called it quits around 8:30. Went to sleep. Didn't say anything to anyone. Just disappeared. And then in the morning we slowly got up, swung by Buc-ee's, and then biked back.
Was it at McKinney Falls or at Bastrop State Park?
That was at Bastrop.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was about a 90-mile weekend.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Gosh, I can't believe you guys rode all that way and then were like, hey, who wants to ride some more?
Yeah. That was the plan. We were supposed to do a gravel ride, and then myself included were just I think I'm done riding my bike for the day.
How long did it take to get there?
Yeah.
3.5 hours, I think, to get there.
That's good.
Maybe 4.
What was the average pace?
I think we averaged around 15. No, maybe 12. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me check Strava real quick. So we averaged 12 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a good
good
clip for being loaded down and
right.
hills.
Yeah.
Did you?
And
it was
people.
Okay, so I have a couple different questions because, like I said, I'm new to bikepacking and camping in general. So what were the things that you had to do way ahead? How do you reserve the spot? What considerations do you take for reserving the spot? Things like that.
Yeah. So let's see. Probably it was before I left for the summer, so probably in June, or maybe May. Yeah, either late May, mid-June, we reserved most of the spots for the fall.
Okay.
And there were still quite a few. You can only book out so far in time, so I could book the November spots. And that was the first thing we did was just got spots.
Okay.
Then we came up with our plan for it. Afterwards, how many people we would bring, how much it would cost, when we would do our first clinic, and when we wanted to kick things off, and who we could collaborate with. And then there was just a lot of like content making. I had to make content for all of the trips so that we could put it on the website. Then we had to do all the back work on the website. So now when you go on there, there's like, it says bike camping on the tab. You click it, and there's a bunch of information on there. That all had to be done. And then the fun stuff starts. You put it out, you get emails, you're creating PDFs that show people like what bikepacking essentials are. So we kind of look at, I really like Radical Adventure Riders bike camping essentials. So we kind of took that, and then each of us contributed. Alvin, Laura, and I all contributed to the document. I had Hannah Simon look it over and give any pointers. So, like, if you ever see one of those, it'll have, like, Hannah Simon notes in italics with little asterisks.
That's funny.
Because, like, she definitely, I think most people in Austin know that Hannah Simon is good at riding bikes for long distances and knows how to pack things. And so it's really great to have just, like, people like her and Russell and M and others who have so much experience helping me out on this. But then it's about, it gets to that point where you've got the spots, you've come up with witty names for each trip, you've created timelines for when you're going to meet, when you're going to roll, when you're going to actually roll. Just getting all that done, and then when you get to it, it's just like, oh yeah, look, we just get on our bikes and start biking now for a long time.
It's so wild because people see the tail end of that. Like, oh, this bike packing trip, we just all show up and we're all going to go to this place. And maybe from their perspective, they're like, I need to get a lightweight tent or something. Mm-hmm. But from the perspective of an organizer like yourself, it's months in the making, and it's more than just riding outside. For you, it's like computer work. I'm going to do all this graphic design and marketing and all of that.
For people who are thinking about bikepacking and don't have any gear, so you said that you have a tab on the Cycleast website, but like what's the minimum sort of bike that you would need for doing something like this?
I mean, most of the trips that we do are road trips. So, like, you don't, like, necessarily need a gravel bike or wide tires. So the only time you're going to, like, be off-road is when you get to the campgrounds.
Oh, yeah.
Our Bastrop trip did have gravel on the way back. But most people were at least, riding, like, everyone's riding bikes with tire width that was wide enough.
Okay. Good.
I think, and that's, like, something important to consider is when we're doing trips, we have to look at routes. Sometimes you have to pre-ride them. We have to get really current ones. And so shout out to Andrew Wade because I definitely used his route for this trip.
Awesome.
And I was just like, Andrew knows what he's doing. And then Zach had pre-written it like a few months ago. So it's just like, all right, Andrew made it. Zach pre-wrote it. Looked at his notes, and I was like, we're good to go.
Yes.
But yeah, like finding routes and stuff like that too. And what was I going to say?
Well, Kat had asked about, like, as someone who's going on a bikepacking trip, what do you need? Kind of starting with the bike itself.
What is, like, the minimum you would need for the first time that you were going to go?
I mean, you could do it on a commuter bike with a basket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, any bike that's comfortable and allows you to hold things. So, like, baskets are super, super great. You can stuff stuff in the bottom, strap things on top of it. It's out in front of your handlebars, so you can still access it. And you still have space for, like, water bottles and stuff. Like that, a commuter bike with a basket to McKinney would be, excellent.
Okay.
What did your rig look like? What kind of bike did you have? And then, like, what did you bring to sleep in? Did you bring, like, cooking supplies? Like, all that?
Food?
Yeah. What was on your bike?
Yeah. I'll send you the picture of it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So so Russell told me in the few months ago I got a geared bike built for some races in Colorado. And I was like, oh, this is going to make like all of our bike camping trips so easy. And Russell's like, no, you're doing all the trips single speed, like you bragged about doing before this bike became a thing. And I was like, no. He was like, you're going to do the Texas Hill Country route on a single speed because you said you could do it. And I was like, no. So I'm glad that one got postponed. We were going to do that in November, but it got moved to the spring. Because so I did this trip on my single speed cross bike. It's a Specialized tri-cross single cross.
Oh, I love that.
And I put flat bars on it,
Mm-hmm.
so I would have more space to load things in front on the front wheel. And also because I needed to go and put flats on for cross. But I put flats on it, and I used a saddlebag, a full frame bag, and I had a Swift Industries like big bag on my front with a Bikepacking tent like strapped on top of it.
Gotcha. Did you bring
2 feet bags and a top tube bag. Lots of bags.
Yes, we'll have to see the picture.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
whenever it came to provisions, like you had a tent, did you have like what did you bring besides the tent, like camp pad or any of that?
So the stuff that I packed was I was borrowing a bikepacking tent from a friend to try it out. It's a big Agnes tent, so they're like really lightweight and have small stake or small posts.
Mm-hmm.
And then I brought a sleeping pad that's like stuffed in a dry bag, and I strapped that around my saddlebag. So that was on the back. So it was like the saddlebag was there, fully stuffed and long, and then the sleeping pad was strapped to it with valet straps.
Perfect.
So they're just like big, long rubber straps.
Love those.
They're pretty great.
Yeah,
I like them.
they're amazing.
We have Cycleast branded ones too, so I got some of those. I was like,
oh, cool.
Very cool.
And
what about food?
other sleep
Did you
stuff.
bring
Was like
food?
I brought a sleeping bag liner. That's what I slept in instead of like a full sleeping bag because it's still warm out. Yeah, I brought some clothes. I didn't bring any cooking stuff because of this trip. And this is one thing I was gonna say. Like packing and camping is really just like what you make it. Like there really are no rules. Like you're just supposed to get to somewhere eventually. And so like I didn't bring any food stuff. I brought snacks for kind of the ride, but I knew that there were places to stop on the route that I could always get more snacks or get food. And then we had already planned an HEB and or Buc-ee's run after we set camp up. Like that was in our plan for the trip. Perfect. And so I knew that I could pick up food at one of those places. And Laura had brought she had parked her car at the campground the day before and biked back and then biked out with us. Jeez. And so she had brought like a camping stove, and I had like put my camping stove in her car with a kettle and like the coffee pot, stuff like that I was just like, well, like your car's here, so
that's a smart way to do it. And that's
what bikepacking and camping really is. Like there are no rules. Like you can do it whatever way you feel comfortable doing it, or like whatever way fits the plan.
Yeah.
And so like we had our dinner at a bar. We had breakfast at Buc-ee's in the morning. We all just like went to Buc-ee's and got like all the tacos and stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
How would bikepacking be different? Because like this trip was go somewhere, camp, come back the next day. Mm-hmm. What if you were going to a multiple day trip? How do you think you would prepare differently for that?
Pretty differently. I had originally planned on using a hammock, but because of the rain, I was nervous about that. And so hopefully in like the next time we go, I won't have to bring a tent. And I'll just, the main way that I usually do this is like with a hammock, a sleeping pad, and like a sleeping bag liner. Okay. And then I just use like my clothes to keep me warm. So like I always bring a rain jacket, like a light rain jacket, like a windbreaker. And and that because that doubles as not only like something to keep you dry, but also insulates you, which is like really important when you're on the road in multiple days. Trying to think, I would bring cooking stuff. I'd bring like a camp stove. I have one that's like about this big.
Awesome.
I couldn't find it for this trip, which was a little annoying, but it's somewhere in my house full of things mixed in with the bike stuff, I'm sure. And then I have like some camping utensils, so like collapsible bowls and a set of knife, fork, spoon.
Cool.
That I usually keep with me. But even on those, like I would make a plan to check out where the routes are going to take me. At least knowing that like if I have to stop by, if I need a read up on snacks, I can swing by a gas station. And probably just pack extra bibs. And more extra chamois butter, and extra bibs.
Yes.
Yeah, when you're riding for long with like a full pack, like a full bike,
Yeah.
chamois butter, it's the best.
Because with a fully loaded bike, you're going to be sitting a lot, I imagine, because
Yeah.
you're working. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so kind of what I'm hearing is as an organizer, you had a lot of planning to do, but it sounds like you did a great job of kind of like pulling in other people to help and like relying on their expertise, which that's an awesome just leadership quality. So there was that, but then for the ride itself, you were more relaxed about it. Like, I'm in civilization, it's fine. I know there's stops along the way. If I forgot something, I'll survive.
Right.
I'm not trying to survive like, foraging in Alaska or something.
Yes.
A ride from my town to another town.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think hopefully that's encouraging to people that haven't bike packed and are a little intimidated, because I think if you've never done it, you're like, well, shucks, there's all this camping gear and all these types of bikes, and it just seems extremely technical, and other people that do it have their heads wrapped around, like all the camping expertise and cycling expertise, and I don't have enough knowledge, therefore I'm afraid to get involved or afraid to try it, but yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for if I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this, if you're a female or someone who may not be comfortable being out camping, is there anything that you can do to make yourself feel more comfortable or safe or secure when you're out in nature and wilderness? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
I would say I don't have a lot of perspective on it, but like when I bike, I usually carry a knife on me just for utility, you know. But I think that finding places, like when I bike, I do a lot of solo rides, and like I've biked through parts of Texas that like in which I felt very uncomfortable being alone. Mm-hmm. And that's like a different experience than what you were asking, but
no, that's exactly what I'm asking. That is exactly it.
Keeping groups of people with you, like staying with groups, like when we're on rides, and a group ride will eventually break, and it's usually not my fault. Don't ask other people what they say about that, but it's usually not my fault when the group ride breaks up. And you need to make sure that, like, as an organizer, you need to make sure that, like, people aren't being left on their own. Like, there's a certain amount of, there's, like, this exchange where, like, some people are going to be like, I want to go by myself. And I'm like, but I need you to stay with the group. And they're like, but I want to do this. At that point, then, like, I mean, we're adults. They can go choose to be off by themselves. Right. But it's, like, my goal to make sure that if people want to go slow and stay with people, like someone else, then, like, I'm there. And the thing is finding people that will make sure that, they're there for, and how do I phrase this?
It's safety in numbers.
Yeah, it's safety in numbers, and also just like being together. Like, I can ride by myself whenever I want. When I do like a bikepacking ride or something, a group thing, like I'm there to be with other people so that we all feel safe together, but also that like we create new relationships that like furthers the goal of us going out on this. And so I think I'll say on this trip, one of the participants came up to me in the morning and she was like, "Hey, so are there any other women going on this trip?" And I was like, "Yeah, there's supposed to be. We'll see who shows up because of the weather." But it was like, for me, very, very encouraging to see that multiple women had felt comfortable signing up.
Good.
And then at times, like, they weren't always together, like they needed to be together all the time. But you could see, like, I could visibly see that, like, some of the women were more comfortable because it wasn't just a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
And like, I think that I see that a lot in like the riding scene in Austin, that there are people who don't feel comfortable, and a lot of it's because like they don't expect their things to be seen from their perspective ever. And so like if they present a need for something that's out of the norm, then people are like, "Oh, well, why does this person want that? Like, no one else ever wants it." And so it's important to make sure that we have and we look out for people with both other perspectives as we try to make space in cycling.
Perfect.
You kind of touched on a couple things. One is, and we've heard this before in previous episodes, where when we talk to ride leaders, every ride leader we talk to expresses this sense of responsibility to make sure that the people in the back aren't like left way out there and everyone feels included, which means that you're not just there as an attendee having fun, going your own pace. Like you're prioritizing the overall group experience, which means prioritizing the folks in the back and maybe riding slower than you'd like to, but in service to the overall experience for everybody. So that is just something about being a ride leader that maybe people don't realize, including some people that ride lead. Like, they don't realize that the most successful rides are the ones where, okay, like the ride their time. And then the other thing you were talking about is just the making sure, like, no one likes feeling tokenized or like the only person in a group where they might not fit in for whatever reason, or they might stand out too much. So I'm the only person that has this quality. Everyone else seems more homogenous. And so I feel like I'm getting too much attention as the token whatever. So just, I think that a lot of that fear, like, I don't want to be a token whatever. I need other whatevers. And that's always, I think that's just like one of the beautiful things about Austin is there's this general, what's the word? Like, we all have this desire to support the community and make it more diverse and shield people from being the token whatever if we can. It's a sentiment that I think just the Austin cycling scene shares. I hear over and over. Just so cool. Yeah. Kat is going on her first camping thing where it's not alone.
Right.
As an attendee, but she's going there alone.
I'm
so
a little
like
nervous. Yeah,
no friends to like guide.
Yes, and also something, when you're going with a group and you all bring stuff, chances are if somebody forgets something, or it's not adequate, or it's not appropriate, someone else will maybe have an extra or be able to share or something like that. When you're going by yourself, if you don't have it, you got it. I forgot my sleeping bag. Oh no. What will I do at the hotel?
At the hotel. Well, and that's just the thing. It's like you can probably bail yourself out of any situation.
Right,
yeah.
We need to wrap up because I have another meeting to go to pretty soon.
Yeah. But we haven't talked about
the rides we're looking
I
forward
know.
to. We
Can I
need to
ask
do
one
that.
last question?
Okay, one last question.
Was there anything that anyone brought that you were like, why did you bring that? Or anything silly that people brought that you were like, you're not going to need that on this trip?
No, I
Oh,
think that
good.
it was like pretty well. I mean, a bunch of people had pour overs, like
Okay.
bikepacking pour overs.
You probably could
which
just
is
have
funny
one or
'cause, like,
two.
we had like
Yeah.
3 different coffee tables going.
That's not terrible, though, I guess.
No, it was wonderful. I'd say one guy, I don't know, one guy brought, and it wasn't weird, but it was cool. It was like a rolled up chess table or checkers table or something
cool.
like that. And it was cool. But the weirdest thing was this person had like waterproof playing cards.
Yeah, those are handy.
Yeah, but then they got wet and stuck together.
Oh, no. Not quite
we
as
couldn't use them. We
waterproof
played,
as
like,
you
one
think.
game,
Yeah.
and then it was like, oh, well, these cards are now unusable because they're stuck together.
Oh, so it was a good idea, but
Yeah.
Yes.
we need to talk more about this desire for coffee. Like,
Yes.
you are talking to a coffee shop owner,
Right.
Okay, well, let's talk about, let's definitely remind everybody of the bike camping trips that you have coming up, and then any other rides that you just think people should know about that are like in the near future.
Okay, yeah. So we're doing 5 rides this fall with Cycleast. We're doing a ride to McKinney, let's see, September 17th, so this weekend. Then another ride to McKinney, what's the month after September? October 8th.
That's what you want to hear from your organizer.
What's that?
That's what you want to hear from your organizer. What's the month after September?
And then, let's see, and then we're going to Lockhart State Park on October 28th. It's a Halloween like ride, so
Very
you know,
cool.
costumes are recommended.
Okay.
I definitely won't be sad if people don't show up in costumes. And then we're doing one on November 11th, which is a Friday, but we have spots for like 30 people
Wow.
to be able to come. And I think that
Where's that one to?
Bike Story Night, oh, that's going to be at McKinney.
Okay.
And then Bike Story Night's going to be at Happy Horse the next night. So
Perfect.
I am in talks with Russell, and I'm going to reach out to Valerie to talk about maybe a little 2-night kind
We
of
love
thing.
Valerie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Bike Story
love
Night's
Valerie.
amazing.
And then we're going to do our, I always laugh at this title. It's the Cycleast Litmus Party. And we're going to do that at Happy Horse on December 17th. And so that one's, there are no limits to how many people can come. And we're just, that's going to be a fun one, yeah, to end the year.
Wow.
Why is it called the
Yeah.
Litmus Party?
So, because it's like Christmas, but it's going to be lit.
Lit. It's
Oh,
lit.
I was like, litmus test.
I thought you meant like a litmus strip.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
chemical.
that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Russell's always like, why do you call it that? I'm like, it's going to be lit, Russell. And he's like, all right, yeah,
All right.
I mean, I guess.
Yes.
Basically, no one gets it, but that's what makes it great.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think how you spell it makes all the difference.
It will,
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
It'll make more sense in print.
So there's tons of opportunities to try
Yes.
to do bike packing. It'll be so awesome. I know, like, nothing breaks the ice and helps you make new friends like riding 40 miles to the woods together.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
And then, are there any other rides that you're just kind of excited about that you think people ought to know about?
I do so much solo riding these
Yeah.
days.
Well, do you
I'm
have
just
any?
like,
Do you have any big events coming up that you're participating
Cross
in?
is about to start. So
Oh,
I'm
right.
getting excited for that.
Yes.
I do the Boogie Ride most Mondays. It's at the ride out of Rafa.
Right.
It's like city commuting.
I've been hearing a lot of good things about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite rides. It's kind of just like a chill ride.
I've heard.
And yeah,
I've
we
heard
start at
different
Rafa
than
and end at
chill.
Meteor. It's like, what?
I've heard different than chill.
Chill for you, maybe.
I've heard a little spicy.
It gets spicy at sometimes. There are like some spots where like we're on the hike and bike trail, just like all pace lining in the dust storm created by bikes. And then there's like there's a strip of mulch that you have to like sprint through. Otherwise, like you get stuck in it.
Oh, interesting.
But there's a couple of like spots that there's like A lines and B lines. So if you're not comfortable, adding some spice to it, you can take the regular route through. Whenever we get into Peace Park, I go straight into the woods, and then meet up with people at the top of the hill.
The Boogie Ride is an in-town, like, cross practice ride? Or how would you describe it?
I describe it as like
It's
a
like-
commuting gravel ride.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a
Because
fast.
it's all like commuting trails all around the city.
So fun.
And D. Ross has just like connected them in a way that you kind of just like, you go from the Rafa store and you go through Peace Park, then you go kind of north-ish all the way to Mueller. Like you cut around by, was that golf course
Mm-hmm.
off Red River and 38th? You come around there. Then you go into Mueller, you go by Mueller, go all the way down to the hike and bike, and then you head up to, Meteor, or down to Meteor, I guess. But yeah, It's pretty fun. Probably averages around, I think, 11 miles an hour.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's not that, and it's not that bad. Like, it's all doable. It gets spicy in some spots, but like, it's all very doable.
Okay.
And we meet up a lot. We have like a lot of mass out points.
Okay. Do you need is any of the ride after dark? Do you need lights?
You need lights probably to get home at night.
Okay.
Because it starts at Rafa, ends at Meteor.
Sure. Yeah.
And then after Meteor, you definitely need lights on South Congress.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thus concludes episode 7 with the wonderful Mr. Ariel Marlowe. What a delightful person. Just such a good personality. I was very impressed with how he collaborates with everyone around him to get these really big projects done. So cool. So I have my hammock and I have my tent. And I have this massive sleeping bag that I don't think I would even attempt to get on a bicycle, and a bunch of other camping gear. I'm just so excited to go back bikepacking all fall long. And there's so many trips coming up. We'll definitely report back on the ones we do. And before I go, I just want to make sure that you know that we have all of these episodes and the audio and uncut footage and all that stuff on bikebulletin.com, so you can download stuff and use it in your own videos if you want, use it in your social media. This is completely public, open source, whatever. And you can find our email on bikebulletin.com as well in case you want to reach out to us because you want to be a guest or something like that. So I hope that you enjoyed and you are making your plans for the outdoors. And until we see you again, have fun riding out there. Bye.